started working out for farmers when I was very young, walking beans, picking rocks, baling hay, sorting pigs, picking eggs, on large farms, all of them. You name it, I did it. My grandparents were small farmers, and I worked with them also. It was exciting when I was a child to meet the extension agents and the sales reps when they came out to the farms to talk. So when I was offered a job with the research projects, I thought I had a dream job. 3 miles from home, and was I ever learning interesting things in order to help the farmers who feed the world? I was content in that it was all supposed to mean something to improve yields, control white mold, rust, insects, other plant diseases. For over 20 years, I worked with some of the top of the university system, Dr. Richard Marina, Dr. Neitzel, Drs. Rose and Moncrief are some of the examples. I also served time on the State Board of Irrigators, the Irrigators Association of Minnesota. I worked with the Agricultural Stabilization Conservation Service. I worked briefly with Senator Sands when he was still with Farm Business Management. I've also worked with the Department of Agriculture on water quality issues as a volunteer for many years because I cared. I was a certified master gardener and a home food preparation consultant because I cared. I gave of my time to the Sustainable Farming Association because I believed in a positive change for the future. I worked with research on different classes of pesticides to help my neighbor, the farmer, as my part in feeding the world. We researched insecticides for potatoes, and edible beans, and corn, and fungicides to control plant diseases. We studied herbicides for weed control and worked with alternative crops for this area. I learned to do statistical analysis of the work we did. And this is just a small list of the things I've done. I thought I had it made. It was like getting paid to go to college. When I questioned the safety, I was told they were safe. No one was using any protective gear. This was the university. Surely they would have told me if I should be wearing protective gear. Gear did arrive after many years, and some was used. Some small changes were made. Now I am chemically sensitive to all classes of pesticides that are used in our area. I sustained a major pesticide poisoning on a job site back in the early 90s when I was hit by an aerial cocktail of 2 fungicides and an insecticide. I became very ill within 24 hours and continued to get sicker over the course of many months. The right side of my body developed a tremor that lasted for approximately a year and a half. This event left me with chemically induced asthma, which I'd never had before. I was told, when I doctored, this is in my head, pesticides don't hurt people, go back to work. So I continued to work to support my family, as we were taught when we were young. When over the course of the next few years, I developed headaches, strange rashes, flu-like illnesses that only went away in the wintertime. I became very light and odor sensitive, and I began to suffer from depression, triggered by smells. Chlorine will make me cry within minutes. When the nerves in my arms and legs began to itch and burn, I was told, this is in your head, go back to work. Pesticides don't hurt people. I continued to work at a job that I really liked and felt that I was providing for my family, hoping that the people I worked around would be considerate and not spray when we were working and cause us to be drifted on. I did fight for safety in the workplace, and some efforts were made. This does not make you popular at a job site. About the same time, potatoes were brought into our neighborhood, and most importantly, the fields surrounding the workplace, where we routinely spent 10 to 14 hours a day outside. The planes would start spraying maybe to the north on Monday, work its way around in a circle spraying in some direction almost every day, until they came back to the north on the 5th day again. But when I complained about the spray drifting into my work area and over classes of school children and elderly people who were under my care in my projects, my life got complicated. The last big event was in 2002, when the plastic tore on a fumigant application that was done, and the volatile organic compounds lingered in the air for over a month. In my direct work area, I did try to avoid the area as much as possible. I developed nosebleeds, and I had my I rapidly lost about 35 pounds and went through menopause at the age of 39. I developed problems with my nerves, which lingered. Prior to this, my daughter, who had lived with us, had given birth to our grandson, who at the age of 4 months was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer called adrenal neuroblastoma, which, when I researched it, says it's generally caused by insecticides, and it's most commonly found in southern states. Shortly after my grandson was born, or diagnosed, our granddaughter was born. And she was born with a brain defect called Chiari type 2 inflammatory condition, where they didn't really know what was wrong, but she ended up having surgery on her brain at the age of 6. And she suffered massive headaches until we figured out what was wrong. Her other grandparents are farmers in the Watkins area. What are we doing? Pesticides do not know when to stop killing. When I left the job site to spend more time at home to avoid more exposures, I keep being exposed to the drift and the volatilizations from neighbors' fields, sometimes because they are sprayed in very windy conditions and sometimes humid. As I cook my organically raised chickens for grandchildren, I am finding tumors in the breast tissue. This has never happened before, and I've been raising chickens and butchering them since I was a little girl. We can't afford to leave, and we can't afford to stay here. I can tell when spray is happening many miles away on a windy day because I can taste the chemicals in the air. My lips go numb, I can't breathe. I can tell when the soil is being fumigated or the soil is cracked after a fumigation because I develop nosebleeds and my brain hurts. I started meeting other people locally who are dealing with these same issues, and that's why I'm here today. I thought it was just me. At this point, all of us are picking up the bills when applicators and the companies they work for break the law and cause drift to happen. So what is happening is that the $40 or $50 or whatever the sales people make off the farmers, the state is putting out in increased medical bills for people like me. The regular local doctors I have seen don't seem to understand what pesticides do over the lifetime of individuals. Will I develop Parkinson's disease, as my husband has, potentially from his military exposures to Agent Orange and other solvents? Will I develop ALS that some of my peers within the university have died from? Will it be cancer? Will my heart fail when I'm young, as did Dr. Marinix? Some other dreadful disease caused by someone else? My next hit may very well be the last. I am here to make it very clear that drift is happening every day in our area. I see little children being exposed when the sprayers fly over or spray next to their homes. I see little children riding their bikes through the mist drift of the spray or sitting in it watching the planes. I see children that live next to the fields getting sick with yeast infections and allergies and cancer and flu and cold symptoms that flare up again the next time the sprayers come around. This is about the benefit every week for some person who has a rare disease in our small towns. Our small towns reek of Roundup and 2,4-D and any number of other products. Our cars are coated going down the roads. Our houses are drifted into and on. Our children playing in the yards. Our animals in the pastures. The gardens we grow our food without pesticides are drifted on. My Amish friends and their families are drifted on going down the roads in their buggies. What are we doing? Pesticides really don't know when to stop killing. This is not about me, I'm pretty sure of my fate. This is about my grandchildren, and your grandchildren, and my neighbor's grandchildren, and their children. There is enough data in the world today to show that pesticides harm us. As far as I'm concerned, the research should be over, and we adopt precautionary principles when it comes to poisons. And I'm pretty sure if there was a God, he was organic. We all need to take back our rights to breathe and say, no more will I stand by and let this happen. This is about a healthy future, clean water and air. and maybe at the same time lower healthcare costs for everybody. We need to regain the right to know. This is important to all. The applicators do not have to tell you, and mostly they won't. We need enforcement of drift laws, period. We need to assess true criminal and financial penalties to people who chemically trespass. We need to create reasonable spraying setbacks from all homes, animals, and any place children are. The buffer zone needs to be at the expense of the person who orders pesticide applications, not the other party. This is fair and right. It is ridiculous to post tiny little signs warning of application. All need to carry skull and crossbones in large colored print. Too many times little children cannot or do not read the little 3x4 inch flags. Most children know that the skull means poison. I believe that we need to withdraw pesticide drift and contamination enforcement from the Department of Agriculture, who collects fees from the sale of these products. I don't mean to offend these guys. I like some of them. This is a health issue. When we are exposed to certain pesticides, it may take days before the effects are seen. We need to follow up when a complaint has been filed. When they come out and take a sample, the day of or the day after the application, it may take weeks before the true damage is showing. And citizens with who I've discussed this problem say they normally try to complain to their local police department. They're not trained, they don't know who to call. Last but not least of all, notification is not the answer when someone is poisoning us. And I did bring pictures of the herbicide drift in my front yard this summer.